Hi, and welcome to CMPP Speakers for Schools programme. My name's Rachel, and today I'm going to be chatting to Steve Day. Now, Steve is an independent financial advisor for Switchfoot Wealth. So we're going to find out a little bit more about what that means, what Steve does, and how he got to where he is today. So hi, Steve.
Hi, Rachel. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
So, Steve, tell us what it is you actually do. What does an independent financial advisor do?
Well, let's put it in simple terms to start off with. What we do is we work with clients, and by clients we mean members of the public, in order for them to be able to achieve what it is they want to in their life with the money that they have. So that involves various different things, but ultimately it starts with finding out with a client what it is they want to achieve, what their goals and objectives are in life. An example of that could be, I want to save enough money to be able to pay my children's university fees. It could be, I want to retire early and go and live by the sea. Everybody has their own goals and objectives in life, and ultimately, people's money is the means by which they can achieve those outcomes. We start with that, then we talk to our clients about what their current financial situation is. How much money do they have today? How much are they earning? What are they spending today? And what assets might they have? By assets, we mean things like a house, potentially. Could also be existing investments that they have. Together, that allows us then to project what their future needs will be in terms of money that they will need to spend, income that they will have, money that they will have available. And that then leads to us being able to advise and recommend to a client the actions that they should take with their money if they want to achieve those goals and objectives. An action could be how much they need to save each month. An action could be the type of product that they need to have. That could be a pension or an ISA. And also what they need to think about in terms of the investments themselves. What types of assets, by which term we mean shares, bonds, etc., they need to invest in. So we would bring all of that together in a recommendation for that specific client and provide our advice to them. Hopefully they would accept that advice, and then we would work with the client to put that in place. And we then have an ongoing relationship where we routinely look at how things are going for them, how their circumstances are, and whether they're ultimately on track to meet those goals and objectives that they set out in our first discussion with them.
Wow, so it must be really interesting then, sitting down with a client, finding out about them, building their sort of future with them as well. That sounds fantastic, really.
It is, and that's one of the main attractions to me of doing this work, is that you're able to sit down with people and ultimately help them achieve what they want to achieve in their life. And everybody's different. Everybody has a different set of goals and objectives. Everybody has a different set of circumstances. But through building those relationships and working together, it's great to be able to see people realise what it is that they want to achieve in their lives. And as I said, that's one of the main reasons why I chose to work in this area of financial services.
So, Steve, tell us how you got to the position you are today. How, did you always want to be in this field?
Well, I actually got to where I am today fairly recently. The last 25 years or so of my career, I was working in procurement in corporate organisations. But then I came to the realisation that I wasn't getting the fulfilment and satisfaction doing what I was doing. And therefore, I made the decision to look around to find something that would give that to me. Finance and economics is something I've been interested in all the way back to when I did economics as an A-level. And therefore, when I was thinking about what direction I wanted to turn in, I started to consider financial services. And within financial services, looked at the different options and found that the financial advisor role was one which would really give me that satisfaction in terms of working with people, helping them in their lives, making a difference. And therefore, I decided last year to make that change. I left what I was doing. I took time to undertake the qualifications that you need to hold to be a financial advisor. And then a few months ago, as it turns out, actually moved now into being a financial advisor working for Switchfoot. And I'm really pleased I did, because the enjoyment that I'm getting from what I'm now doing is considerably higher than what it was before.
I mean, it's really interesting to hear, isn't it? Even after 20 years, you can still change your career positioning or where you are, which is, you know, when you're leaving school, I think there's all these decisions, but actually there's nothing to stop you changing in the future anyway.
There isn't. Obviously, it does get a little bit harder, perhaps, as you get further into your career to make that decision, to make that change. And it took some time for myself and my family to think about, was it the right thing to do? But
Yeah.
ultimately, you spend so much time at work. My view is you have to be doing something that you really find enjoyable and you're getting satisfaction from. And my decision was I didn't want to spend the rest of my career not doing that. So it's right for me to have made the change. And as I said, I'm really happy that that was something I was able to do and was supported in doing by my family as well.
So let's go back to school then. You said you sort of done GCSEs, A levels, and did you go on to university as well?
I did, yeah. I went to Birmingham University, studied economics and political science there. So again, another clue there in terms of economics that perhaps I should have got in financial services at the start.
Yeah.
But yeah, really enjoyed my time at university. Got a lot out of that, as much from the social side of it and the independent side of it as the academic side. But yeah, that was where I started in terms of my academic life.
And then what happened then after university? Was that into a job role that you were into for a while then?
When I left university, I went into a sales job working for Walker's Crisps. So I had a lot of crisps in the boot of my car as I drove from the corner shop, which is where my current love of crisps, I think, started. And from sales, I gradually moved into some sales support areas, but then had the opportunity to move into procurement, which is in essence the flip side of selling. We're buying, not selling.
Right.
With Walkers, and then ultimately with Pepsi, who own Walkers. And then from there moved into another couple of organisations over that period of time, until I was working for a pharmaceutical company for the 12 to 13 years before I made the decision to move across to financial advice.
Brilliant. Brilliant. And what life skills do you think you've needed to sort of get to where you are today?
My experiences personally, and from those people that I've seen be really successful, is there's a number of skills, soft skills, that are really important in work. The first is empathy and understanding of those people that you're working with. It's key to understand what their objectives are, what they're looking to achieve, indeed also what's going on in their life in some cases as well, just to be able to build the right type of relationship with them.
Yeah.
And to do that, you need to be able to listen. You need to be able to hear what people are saying, sometimes even pick up on things that they might not be saying, but you're seeing them act in a certain way, which gives you a clue or a trigger in terms of understanding how that person is. And communication as well. Communication in terms of the listening side, but also then when you're communicating yourself to people, being able to adapt how you communicate, the kind of language that you use, but also the format of communication. Some people take on board ideas better visually, some people take on board ideas better verbally. So being able to adapt yourself to the people that you're working with, people you might be trying to influence or convince or build a relationship with, is so important. And whatever role you're doing, that for me ultimately are a number of the life skills that you need to have, or soft skills that you need to have to be successful. Yeah,
absolutely. And so you haven't obviously been an independent financial advisor for a huge amount of time, but what's your future aspirations? Do you have a goal for the future or?
Absolutely. Well, I think the first thing to say is I'm a big believer in lifelong learning. I don't think you can ever learn it all. And it's very important to continue to build understanding, build awareness in order to both be successful in your job, but also to be able to understand where the people you're working with are coming from. So my plans are really in two main areas. Firstly, I'm intending to do further work and accreditation around later life clients. These are people who are probably already retired, certainly coming towards the point where they may be needing some care support, and being able therefore to help them navigate what's quite a tricky area with lots of different assessments, processes and legislation. The second area, and I feel really passionately about this, is in respect of climate change. Both myself and us as a business, Switchfoot Wealth, are really heavily convinced of the impact that individuals can have through their money and their investments in tackling climate change.
Wow.
So we as an organisation, me as an individual, are continuing to develop our understanding as to how that can be done, so that then we can advise the clients who invariably also have an objective to support that fight in tackling climate change, to do that as effectively as possible. So perhaps a long answer to your question, Rachel, but it's all around continuing to learn, continuing to develop. And by doing that, that enables me to be as successful as possible, but it also enables me to make sure that the outcomes for our clients are as successful as possible as well.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I mean, you said as well, becoming an independent financial advisor, you had to go back and do some exams, and how was that?
Well, the information doesn't necessarily go into the brain quite as easily at 48 as it does at 16 or 18. So it took some discipline, it took some planning, it took diligence in order to make sure that I was actually progressing as I needed to progress. But if it's something that you're interested in, I think it's that much easier to really engage with the topic and therefore be able to work your way through it as well. So it wasn't necessarily straightforward, but it's something that I knew I needed to do to get to where I wanted to be. And because it's something that I was interested in, I was actually able to engage in the topics, and ultimately I found what I was learning interesting as well, which is key.
I think that's key, really, isn't it, for anybody? And you've given some amazing bits of advice, but do you have any final bits of advice for any sort of school-aged children just making their choices? Or
I think there's a couple of things I would probably focus upon. One, just to reiterate about the soft skills piece. I think my experience is it's so important to be able to work with people. I can't really think of any jobs where you don't have to work with anyone ever. You're always going to have to engage with somebody, and your life will be so much easier, your career will be so much easier if you're able to build those relationships with people and be able to communicate with people as well. So soft skills isn't something that you have a lesson on in school, but it's something that you can think about and you can develop and you can reflect on. What are your soft skills? How are you working with people? Are you listening properly? And throughout your life, that will be something to continue to focus upon. And the second thing I would say is find something you love doing. You spend a lot of time at work, and your life will be more enjoyable if you're at work doing something that you enjoy doing and you're finding fulfilling. So find what that thing is, and that might take you a few tries, might take you through different careers, through different jobs, but continue to look for that thing that gives you what you want. And it might take some time to get there, but ultimately what you find in your career will be that much more fulfilling if indeed you take the time to look for it.
Thank you, Steve. That is so true, and some really great bits of advice there. And thank you so much for sharing your story with us today.
My pleasure. Good to see you, Rachel.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Steve.
Bye-bye.
Bye.